Hello and welcome. My name is Natalie Areola, and this is But What Does It Mean? Deconstructing Surreal Art. Today I want to take a moment to talk about the female surreal artists. We have mentioned some of the male surrealists in our previous episodes, but we haven't really talked about the women at all, which is of course incredibly unfortunate because the female surrealists were incredible, their work is beautiful, and they were quite important to the surrealist movement. The thing is that they tend to get ignored. This is sometimes contributed to the misogyny of the male surreal artists themselves. And while I'm not going to say that that's completely off base, I do think that it's a bit unfair because many of the male surreal artists did champion the work of these women and definitely included them in their exhibitions. I think the real problem arises in art history, where historians just decided to leave them out. So we're going to fix that by talking about some of the specific and incredible female surreal artists today. I did want to talk a little bit about how their work is different from the men before we get into talking about specific artists. So the male surrealists tend to represent women in a very traditional sense, that being the woman as the beautiful and passive muse. The female surrealists did not see the woman as merely a physical object of desire, but rather as a being whose power comes more from mind, spirit, and intellect. And this definitely comes through in their work, which is intensely feminist. Let's start by talking about Jane Gravure and her painting, The Holy Spirit. I'm not sure if I'm saying her name right, so I apologize if I totally said it wrong. So in this painting, we have two rock formations, and they seem to be taking the shape of a female body. In the background, we have a blue sky, and towards the bottom of the frame, pink and orange clouds, sort of in sunset hues. There's also a bird which is flying straight down in the frame and takes on the appearance of the woman's pubic hair. So we can look at this painting in comparison to a painting by René Magritte. This painting is Black Magic. He actually has a couple versions of the painting, but this is the 1935 version. So in this painting, we have an actual physical woman. She's standing next to a rock formation. She has a white dove on her shoulder, and she changes in color. So at the top of the frame, she's blue, and the blue gradually fades into an orange sort of sunset hue towards the lower portion of her body. The Gravure painting almost seems to be questioning Magritte's understanding of female power. His painting is very much focused on the female body. We have the literal female body depicted in his image, and the title Black Magic seems to suggest that there is something magical to him about the actual object of desire that woman is. Where in the Gravure painting, there is no corporeal female form at all. There's merely the suggestion of a female form. There's a bird flying through the frame. Birds are often a symbol of freedom. The title of the painting is The Holy Spirit. The bird is also associated with spirit, and we seem to have an idea here that maybe what's more important, maybe where the power of the female actually comes from, is not from the physical form, but rather from the presence of the female spirit. This leads us directly into our next female surrealist, Leonor Fini. Fini said, "Men allow the duties of work, social life, and war to anesthetize them to the life of the spirit." Both Gravure and Fini seemed to find weakness in the male difficulty with matters of the heart and soul, and thus the spiritual life. Fini frequently included herself in her paintings, and she would paint her hair as this huge flowing lion-like mane. Fini flipped the male gaze on its head in her paintings, which would depict beautiful men in the same fashion as you would traditionally see women. So beautiful, passive objects of desire. In these paintings, the woman becomes the voyeur, or frequently the protector. In one painting, Fini is quite literally pointing the way for her male counterpart, whom she dwarfs both in stature and sheer presence. Another bold female surrealist is Leonor Ik Harrington. Harrington wanted to get away from the strict Freudian theories of dream worlds, which the male surrealists were so fascinated with. And in her work, she seems to depict something more like a realm of pure imagination, and specifically feminine imagination. In her self-portrait, we see her in a room. There is a hyena approaching her. There's a large white rocking horse hovering or floating behind her. And through the window in the background, there is an actual horse running through the fog-laced trees. The hyena seems to represent some sort of spirit animal, and it appears as though it is a female hyena, as it has breasts which appear to be swollen with milk. The horses perhaps represent freedom, and specifically the freedom of the imagination and freedom to think, feel, and behave according to one's own rules. Now let's move on to my image. So this is different from the images we've been looking at, which were all from my Phantasmagoria series. This image, which is called The Forbidden Crossing, is from a new series I've been working on called Chimera. So in this image, we have a very dark scene. There are dark gray and even black clouds billowing in the background. We have a very vast sky. There's a lot of negative space. In the background, there is also what looks like a shore and some mountains. In the foreground, we see a dark nighttime sea with some waves rolling in. We have a woman's head sort of emerging from the water, and beneath her is a swirling galaxy or black hole or some sort of astronomical phenomenon. The overall image is quite dark, but there is a bright light shining sort of directly on her face, which gives it a sort of uncanny feeling. She also seems to be moving away from one shore and towards another. So I would like to know what you get out of this image. I do often offer a little more insight into what I was thinking with my specific choices, but I think by just pointing out to you what the different elements in the image are, I know that you are completely capable of coming up with your own associations to those things. In fact, maybe you'll come up with some associations which are much more interesting than the ones that I would come up with. So I would love to hear what you think. Please do leave me some comments on that. I want to thank you again for joining me. I truly enjoy doing these videos, and I really hope that you are getting something out of them. Today I tried to do something of a slightly looser format. I didn't script it, I just did an outline for myself. So I hope that comes through and that it feels a little more conversational and is perhaps a little more fun for you in that way. Again, thank you for joining me. Make sure that you like this video and subscribe to my channel if you're on YouTube. Also, if you would like a beautiful and thought-provoking print of any of the images we've discussed thus far, please hop on over to my store. The link is in the video description and my bio, and I will see you guys next time.